Okay, so this is a self-check for diastasis recti. We are going to feel your own connective tissue line down the front of your abdomen. So straight down from your ribs, that little bone right in that notch there, straight down, and it goes all the way to your pubic bone. That's where your abdominals connect by connective tissue to each other. So we're just going to check the integrity of that connective tissue, how our abdominal wall contracts, how squishy it is in the middle, and what's going on. So all I want you to do is just make sure you can kind of feel straight down the center, get used to what your belly feels like, because it's a little bit, you need to put a little bit of pressure to feel this forming. Okay, so what I want you to do, we are just going to tense the system. We're just going to lift your head and your shoulders just a tiny bit off the ground. I don't want you to come up into an aggressive crunch because that makes all the other muscles contract and we don't want that. We want to see how this system is able to create tension right in the beginning of the motion. Okay, so we're going to keep your chin tucked and we're just going to lift your head and your shoulders up, just like this, almost like you're trying to look at your knees or maybe at your belly button, but we're not going to round too much more than that. Okay, so place your fingers in the center. You can kind of do it in multiple different ways. You can have your fingers kind of coming up and down the line first just to get used to it, or you can stick your hands in this way where you can kind of feel a broader distance and feel those muscle bellies. Okay. So stick your hand in just kind of right under that notch, a little bit of pressure, and then just come up for me. And just kind of feel, okay, what do the muscles feel like there? Is there a gap? Is there a depth? What we're looking for is not only if there is a gap. So when you come up, your body uses your rectus abdominis, which is your six-pack muscles. So you have a muscle belly on the right side and a muscle belly on the left side. So if there's not very good tension being generated in that connective tissue, those muscle bellies, as they go to contract to lift you up, they will pull apart. That's what people talk about when they talk about the gap, okay? They're not staying right at the midline. So feel for that, and also we want to feel that if a valley is created, then we want to feel how deep that is. How much, is there any tension there along the line, okay? So now come down an inch, just above your belly button or so, and do the same thing. And just kind of pause and feel and press. What is my abdomen doing? And then come on back down. Okay? At the belly button, right at the belly button, which is sometimes kind of icky. I don't love pressure in my belly button, but let's do it for assessment purposes. Come on up and press and see. And if there's a gap, kind of feel like, is it the width of one of my fingers? Is it two of my fingers? Is it three of my fingers? The actual size of the gap doesn't matter as much as the depth and what's going on in the muscles, so don't be afraid if you do have a gap. And then come just below the belly button. An inch or so below the belly button, last spot, and do the same thing. Okay? Just kind of feel. Okay, so that's what's going on. I just had my head up like this, so just remember to just look towards your knees. Okay, so now you have a sense of what your midline feels like. Is it squishy? Is there any tension, any firmness, even if it's deeper? Are there ridges? Is it separate? Are those ridges separated? Are they together? So you kind of have a feeling, because that's our baseline. While the gap doesn't matter, it's kind of a measure of your own body and any sort of progress or changes. The other thing I like to do, and the last thing, is with both hands, place them on your belly, okay? And then just feel, so come up into a crunch again, and I want you to feel that whole front of your abdomen. So just come on up, and just feel, press. What is happening? Am I getting this doming in the middle? Am I getting a nice flat contraction? Am I getting, I like to call it the bread loaf, but a lot of times when there is some imbalance in the inner core, outer core, when our muscles go to contract, they kind of feel like this, where those six-pack muscles come up and then there's this big valley in the middle and it looks like a bread loaf, the top of a bread loaf. So do we get that bread loafing pattern? Do we contract in a flat way? Do we contract in a domed way? So that's going to give you a lot of ideas about what's going on in your inner core, and also the baseline, so when we start to change those patterns, what is going to change for you, and you'll feel the differences once you really get to know your body.